Lyndon Forbes Samson Bonham, well known as Roger, master politician, and was an outstanding statesman too. He was a great leader, and our hero, you understand. That's why we remember Edmund Bonham.
Yes, once again, good morning to you, Guyanese. I'm here with you again this month of February. We are having our monthly program, State of the Nation. And this program is sponsored and comes to you with the compliments of the Forbes Bonham Foundation. You know, this month is the birth month of Lyndon Forbes Samson Bonham. And had he been alive, he would have been 95 years on the 20th of February. But every year we continue to commemorate his birth, and for this year we have been doing a number of things. We had our normal church service, we had our symposium, and we also had our general members meeting and try to encourage others to join us on this noble task of trying to memorialize and to always bring to the fore the life and the work of Lyndon Forbes Samson Bonham. We continue along the path of education to make sure our people are informed in relation to what has happened to Guyana. And as we speak, we continue with our celebration because today we're having our second and third legs of our annual cycle race. Today they have left Lyndon, they're on their way to Georgetown. They should be down in town around 11:15. That's the second leg. The first leg was on Springlands to New Amsterdam, and today we have Lyndon to Georgetown, and then this afternoon we're going from Georgetown to Belfield and back. That will bring an end to our third stage of this annual cycle race to commemorate the life and work of Lyndon Forbes Samson Bonham. Today our program will be twofold. We are looking this month, we know it's Black History Month, and we continue, like I said, on our education program. And there was a program that we had done before, and we're bringing to you again this issue of our border controversy. You know, quite recently, the Secretary General of the United Nations has referred the controversy to the CEC, the World Court, for a decision. And our president, quite rightly, is currently visiting all our border kind of communities because he has foregone attending the heads of government meeting in Haiti. And I've noticed a lot of compliments being given to him for that particular act because the issue of our territorial integrity is paramount. So today we're bringing you a presentation made by Mr. Raul Lucas at Lyndon some time ago when the foundation we conducted an outreach to inform and educate people about this issue on the border. And we feel that it's important, since it's a topical issue, that we should once again bring it to the public attention, what obtains and what it is that we need to be looking at in relation to this issue. I am not sure how much time we have, but on the second part, we would be looking at the departure, say, from this life of Dr. Mohammed Shahabuddin, and I want to take this opportunity to extend to his family our sincere kind of condolences on behalf of the Forbes Bonham Foundation. And we would be bringing to you a speech he made, not very long, in relation to his perception, his views on this great son of Guyana, Lyndon Forbes Samson Bonham. So that will be our second kind of presentation. I will be inviting members of the public. As long as we have some time, you can call into the program, make your comments and your contribution in relation to these two presentations. And I trust that you would be very pointed in your comments and observations in relation to what was presented. So two-part. First of all, we go into Mr. Raul Lucas, who will be looking at this question of the Guyana border, the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. So here we go.
Thank you very much.
Shauna.
What's her name again? Shanessa?
Sean.
Sean Arthur. Okay, and welcome to all of you. Good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure for me to have this opportunity today to speak to you on aspects of the Burnham foreign policy on the occasion of celebrating the life and death of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. Madam Chairperson, this event, following the occasion of the observance of the 30th death anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, entreats me to remember who the man was as we attempt to understand the irrationality of the Guyana-Venezuela controversy, a matter that is constantly provoked by our neighbor to the west. I wish to do so bearing in mind that I sit in a municipality that bears part of his name, and which by itself gives occasion for me to accept as an honor and a privilege the opportunity to speak to you this day about Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham's efforts to stave off Venezuela's aggression towards Guyana. I do so recognizing also that I stand among friends and well-wishers who would like to understand what it is that makes Venezuela feel that it must keep this nation of Guyana off balance. There are many among us who would lead you to believe that Burnham was a corrupt and selfish man. They offer vile and contemptuous opinions about his rule of Guyana without seeking to place it in the historical, political, economic, and security context in which it took place. And every time I listen to the remarks of a detractor, I'm always reminded of the statements made by Mark Antony at Brutus's urging at Julius Caesar's funeral, when he said, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I am here to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them, and the good is interred with their bones." That is what many would like us to remember about Burnham, the bad, not the good. But I think you ought to understand that the underlying philosophy that urged Mark Antony to speak at Caesar's funeral stemmed from the belief that Caesar had, the passion, the ambition, as Brutus called it, of trying to do right for Rome. And what I am about to share with you in the context of the Guyana-Venezuela relationship is how I see Forbes Burnham and what he tried to do for Guyana in the context of the Guyana-Venezuela controversy. So I will not be dealing with the many facets of his management of Guyana, for that is not the purpose of my presence here today. But that we must do one day in order to understand what happened to this country over the past 23 years and where we must take it henceforth. Today, I would like to speak about Forbes Burnham in the context of his determination to preserve and protect the territorial integrity of Guyana. This limited presentation should still give you reason to think about the future of Guyana and the role that you must still play in building that future. The conclusion of the border controversy, whether it happens now or in the future, in many respects, bear on the future of Region 10 and the role that it will play in that future effort of advancing Guyana. Madam Chairperson, many might have grown up hearing the words territorial integrity, good neighborliness, and universality, or they may eventually come to hear them. These were not words fashioned by Burnham, but they were principles that guided how we understood Guyana and how Guyana should conduct itself in the region and around the world as an independent nation. The concepts of territorial integrity and universality are concepts that identify a state or country as a sovereign, as having the right to determine and control its people, its resources, and its institutions. The parameters for this position were set much earlier by the British, as I will disclose later. So you could imagine then that when Guyana was about to gain independence from the United Kingdom, and Venezuela decided to raise its unjust claim to the Essequibo, 5/8 of Guyana's territory, how determined Burnham was to protect the sovereignty of Guyana. It is against this background and in this context that I would like to speak about his role in the Guyana-Venezuela controversy. Like anything else, we need to have some background to that controversy. Let me state here, though, as far as Guyana is concerned, the controversy with Venezuela is about the validity of the 1899 arbitral award, which gave Guyana the territory that it now has. Those words are not mere references to a legal decision. For Guyana and Forbes Burnham, they meant that the boundary between Guyana and Venezuela was settled. This was the position established by Forbes Burnham prior to independence, and that is the position of Guyana today. The durability of that position in Guyana's foreign policy for nearly 50 years now speaks not only to his comprehension of the problem, but also of his determination to preserve the country as we know it for future generations of Guyanese. Madam Chairperson, as we examine his performance, we must keep in mind that Forbes Burnham ascended to the premiership of Guyana, fetching an external threat to the sovereignty of Guyana and an internal threat to its cohesion. This presentation will condense those circumstances so as not to bore you. So what were the precedents to the territorial controversy created by Venezuela? As you would know from your history, the Dutch settled in Essequibo in 1616 until it ceded the combined territories of Demerara and Essequibo on the one hand and the independent colony of Berbice to the British in the Treaty of Paris in 1815. The British brought the three colonies together in 1831 under one governor. What the British realized by 1834 was it did not know exactly what it had inherited from the Dutch. In order to find out, it gave a series of commissions starting in 1835 to a German surveyor, geographer, and naturalist by the name of Robert Schomburgk to find and demarcate the boundaries of British Guyana. It is important to point out here that Schomburgk did not discover or invent any new boundaries. He approached his work in the manner that experts of his day did. He relied on natural features to demarcate the boundaries. He interviewed persons living in the areas that he encountered and traversed in his inquiries. He searched for evidence of Dutch possessions and dwellings. He searched also for evidence of the Spanish presence and influence. In carrying out his work, Schomburgk took information from the Amerindians as well. He searched as far west as possible for Spanish influence and Dutch possessions. Using these methods, Schomburgk was able to determine the limits of Dutch possession and the zone from which all trace of Spanish influence was absent. Schomburgk also called attention to the fact that the British government might justly claim the whole basin of the Cuyuni and the Uruari, a tributary of the Cuyuni that is currently located in Venezuela, on the grounds that the natural boundary of British Guyana included any territory through which flowed rivers which were themselves tributaries of the Essequibo. The British notified Venezuela and Brazil of the territory that it was claiming based on Schomburgk's findings. In response to the British notice, Venezuela proposed that there be a treaty of limits between the British and Venezuela. Britain felt that that was unnecessary because we should first of all demarcate or confirm the demarcation of the boundaries before moving to adopt a treaty. One of the things that we should note is that Venezuela never made a claim to the territory of Guyana or even that of the Essequibo until 1844, 3 years after they were notified about what the British were seeking. That claim was based primarily on the argument that the Spaniards had discovered the New World. Things remained in a state of uncertainty until 1895, when the U.S. finally agreed to set up a boundary commission as a result of constant requests by Venezuela for such a body. Eventually, that was done under the Treaty of Washington. And in 1897, that commission was set up. Subsequently, a tribunal in 1897 was established as well. And that tribunal met and in 1899 gave down a decision as to what the boundary between Guyana and Venezuela should be. That decision, which gave us the territory that we know as Guyana today and as Venezuela as well, was regarded as a full, final, and perfect settlement of the boundary dispute at that time between Venezuela and Guyana. By 1904, Brazil, British Guyana, and Venezuela had marked the boundaries that we have today. Further, in 1905, Venezuela agreed to the maps that resulted from this demarcation exercise. In other words, Venezuela accepted the full, final, and perfect settlement of the boundaries as was determined by the Arbitral Tribunal of 1899. So what happened after 1899 that brought the issue to life again? A member of the Venezuelan delegation to the tribunal, Severo Mallet Prevost, claimed in a letter written in 1944 that there was collusion between the British jurists on the tribunal and the Russian chairman of the tribunal. And that led to Guyana getting the territory that it received. In addition to that, he claimed that Venezuela was pressured by America into accepting the decision of the tribunal. This man also requested that the contents of his letter not be made public until after he died. Mallet Prevost died in December 1948, and the contents of his letter were revealed in July 1949. It is not clear why Mallet Prevost made such a request, but what is known is that by the time the claim was made known, none of the persons he accused was alive to defend himself. And that is the basis of the claim that Venezuela has against 5/8 of Guyana's territory. Venezuela reopened the matter in 1962 at the United Nations on the basis of that rather spurious claim by Mallet Prevost. And Britain immediately rejected the action of Venezuela and made it clear at that point that neither the British nor the Guyana government accepted that there was any dispute to discuss. The information that I just presented to you indeed is the basis of the Venezuelan claim to the Essequibo, 2/3 of the territory that was awarded to Guyana in 1899. Madam Chairperson, in 1965, after becoming Premier of Guyana, Burnham was confronted with this problem. Being the pragmatist that he was, he visited Venezuela to see how he could prevent the matter from escalating into hostile relations. It was the start of the good neighborly policy of the Burnham regime. Good neighborliness is a principle of international law that pursues the practice of tolerance and living together in peace. Burnham pushed that principle because it made sense in an environment in which Guyana was surrounded by Iberian countries that shared a similar culture to that of Venezuela, and an eastern neighbor with whom it also had a border conflict. He recognized that not all the countries in the region, however, were hostile to Guyana. Brazil, in particular, which itself felt it had to give up too much territory to satisfy the claims of everyone else in the region, was in agreement with the boundaries of 1905, and therefore does not and did not at that time want to see it change. Consequently, as soon as it could, Guyana set up diplomatic relations with its three contiguous neighbors, namely Brazil, Suriname, and Venezuela. One could also see CARICOM as an extension of that good neighborly policy. It made sense because the Caribbean islands, like Guyana, stood in the way of Venezuela achieving its naval ambitions of being an Atlantic military power. CARICOM was therefore always seen as part of Guyana's first line of defense against its aggressive neighbors. This principle of good neighborliness was also part of Burnham's effort to maintain Guyana's territorial integrity. But the preservation of the territorial integrity of states is in itself a principle in international law that seeks to prevent border changes by force. It is a principle that is enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations and one that urges all its members to refrain from using force against other states. It is the reason Guyana could not support the U.S. invasion of Grenada or the attack by Israel on its Middle Eastern neighbors. The principle of universality was encouraged to ensure access to the widest possible support for what Guyana saw as an unjust and illegitimate claim against 5/8 of its territory. Burnham wanted to ensure that as many nations as possible adhered to the principles of good neighborliness and territorial integrity. And that, he understood, could only be done through pursuing the principle of universality. Consequently, the respect for the three principles of universality, good neighborliness, and territorial integrity was part of the reason that Burnham accepted the Geneva Accord and subsequently the 1970 Protocol of Port of Spain as ways in which he tried to deal with the controversy with Venezuela. The Geneva Agreement called for setting up a mixed commission to see if the two countries could end the controversy through bilateral means. However, Venezuela interpreted the agreement to have the accord to mean that Guyana accepted a reopening of the claim, while Guyana interpreted it as Venezuela being given a chance to prove that the 1899 award was null and void. As a result of that stalemate, there was no progress on the mechanisms of the Geneva Accord. In 1970, as Guyana moved to Republican status, Venezuela, in February of that year, made an incursion into Guyana's territory at Ettering-Bang. That incident hastened moves to find a new mechanism to resolve the controversy. Venezuela called for arbitration by the OAS, but Burnham rejected that, since Venezuela had already rejected one arbitral award, and there was no confidence that it would not reject another. Guyana could not trust Venezuela. Guyana proposed instead that the matter go to the International Court of Justice, but Venezuela rejected that proposal. As a consequence, we were left with a search for other means, and with the good intervention of Dr. Eric Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana and Venezuela signed what was now known as the Protocol of Port of Spain in June of 1970. The protocol did not replace the Geneva Accord, it merely suspended it. But we continued with the protocol until the early 1980s, when Venezuela again made a military incursion of Guyana's airspace. Burnham, therefore, found it necessary to expand his reach and to try and apply more pressure to Venezuela. And he did this by pursuing his principles of good neighborliness, territorial integrity, and universality through the non-aligned movement. And through that entity, Guyana was able to mobilize support successfully against Venezuela. Venezuela found itself isolated and was forced to rebuild relations with many countries. The situation that Guyana faces today, though occurring in an area outside that of Burnham, is one which can turn to the Burnham era for a ready promotion and defense of Guyana's position on the map. As many of you would know, on the 26th of May this year, the President of Venezuela issued Decree 1897. 1787, sorry. Yeah, 1787, on May the 26th, extending Venezuela's claim to the territorial waters, the maritime zone of Guyana. Our government decided to respond in the same way that Forbes Burnham would have responded, by moving to its first line of defense and calling upon its CARICOM neighbors to first and foremost condemn the actions of Venezuela. I would like to stop my presentation at this particular point because, as I said before, this incident which has occurred, though outside of the era of Burnham, could well be resolved or responded to in the same manner that he would have responded, simply because he gave us an enduring set of tools with which to work in spite of our smallness as a country and our limited capacity militarily. I am prepared to have a discussion with you on any aspects of this presentation, and I would like to thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Yes, there you have it. My friends, I'm back with you. I would invite you to make your comments, make your submissions, express your views in relation to the border controversy. But what we will do as well, like I said, this is Black History Month. We're commemorating the birth anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, and we are looking at the passing, reflecting on the passing of Dr. Shahabuddin, one of our outstanding jurists. And you know his recent passing has dealt a telling blow to Guyana, because he has done some sterling work for this country. And he had some words to say about Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. And I would like to share those views of Dr. Shahabuddin with you, and for us to remember Dr. Shahabuddin, who is no longer with us, and Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, who is no longer with us. These were two outstanding sons of Guyana. So we go to Dr. Shahabuddin, after which I will be opening the lines for you to make your comments, express your views in relation to, one, the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy, and we will be also looking at the life and work of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham.
We have come to bury our dead. We have come from every part of our country to take our leader home. All the myriad elements, all the rich variety of often discordant qualities, all of a whole range of sometimes dissonant and clashing signals and sounds, which he blended with his magic and meshed into the music of a united people. They have all come. They have come to be silent witnesses for the man who took on history, who challenged the past, who dared both the present and the future, to conceive, to create, to shape, to consolidate the society which is ours today. He was our teacher. He was our guide. He was our seer. When we despaired, he gave us hope. When we lost the way, he led us forth. When we spoke the language of strife, he counseled peace. When there was darkness, he brought us into the sunshine. From out of humiliation, he gave us pride. He restored our dignity. He gave us the strength of the past while freeing us from its grip. He took us into the family of nations. He built us a home. He secured it for us. He was our sword and our buckler. He was my friend. He was your friend. He was our friend. He was the friend of fighters for freedom everywhere. And we have come to tell him that what he has wrought, we will preserve, we will promote, we will defend. We have come to promise that we will not give up his quest of even greener pastures for his people. We have come to thank him for showing us the light, for setting us on the way, for giving us the means to continue, the will to continue, indeed the need to continue. We cannot fail him. We must not fail him. For he was our liberator. He was the paladin of our liberties. He was our Prometheus. He was the father of the nation. His Herculean labors are now done. And now that he is no more, we have come to sing him one last song. We have come to sing him to rest in the undying warmth of an ever-grateful people's love. We have come also to comfort his grieving but courageous widow, children, and relatives. We have come to let them know that his place in our nation is secure. We have come to tell them and to tell the world that every beating Guyanese heart will forever be a monument to Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham.
Sail on, silver bird. Sail on by.
Yeah, my friends, you have heard the piece from Dr. Shahabuddin. That was a short presentation from Dr. Shahabuddin at the time of the passing of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. When you listen to Shahabuddin, you listen to Forbes Burnham, you listen to Dr. Sheridan Ramphal, you recognize the quality of oratory that these men possess when you listen to the words used by Dr. Shahabuddin to describe Forbes Burnham. They both no longer with us, and for you Guyanese, We need to reflect. These are men of outstanding quality that can put together language to describe one of Guyana's most outstanding sons. The lines are now open. Like I said, we're commemorating the birth anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Bonham. We have also reflected on the passing of Dr. Shahabuddin. And we continue to have the series of activities to mark this occasion. As we speak, we have a team of cyclists riding from Lyndon to Georgetown as in the second leg, and the third leg will be this afternoon from Georgetown to Belfield and back. As we speak, we also have going from Tuesday, we have it ongoing from say the last week. We have our softball cricket competition among schools in Region 3, 4 and Georgetown participating in our cricket competition. These are all activities that we have organized to commemorate the birth anniversary of Forbes Bonham. Had he been alive, he would have been 95 years. And those of us who have experienced this man, those of us who have worked with him, those of us who have traveled this country with him, those of us who have experienced or looked at the program and the things that he has done will all testify that the quality was one that focused on advancing the interests of this country. Our lines are open and you are called upon to make your contribution to this program as we continue to reflect on the life of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Bonham and the things that he has done, and also our Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. We had Mr. Lucas giving a presentation, and we inviting members of the public to make a contribution on this issue. You know, this is an issue that touches all Guyanese, and we should all be prepared to make sure that we defend our territorial integrity at all costs, because we know that over the years we have been prevented from advancing in our development programs that were initiated both by Forbes Bonham and other kind of governments that came subsequently. And there are many things we could not have done as a result of this albatross that was around the neck of Guyanese. So now that the Secretary General has referred the issue to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, we're sure, as the leader has said, as the President has said, that our cause is just and we will prevail at the ICJ. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, those of you who have me in your living room and in your bedroom or kitchen, feel free to make a contribution to this program today. The lines are open. I want to tell you also that apart from us having this series of activities, one other thing that we do each year, we also look at his death. Bonham died on the 6th of August 1985. And come August, we will also be having a series of activities to remember this man. Because like I said, there is no other to be compared with him in this country. There is no other that has done the things that he has done. And it is incumbent on Guyanese, as Dr. Shahabuddin has said, that he has been our teacher, our guide, our mentor, our seer in terms of things Guyanese. And a lot of the things that we have learned over the years, a lot of the things that are now very common to people in the society are things that were introduced by him. If we look at anything that is happening in this country, look at our roads, look at our sporting facilities, look at our university, look at our school system, look at everything that you can think. If we reflect when we were all young, I'm not as young as I used to be then, but I know things in those years used to be very difficult. It took a visionary to really carve a path of development like the one he did. We now find oil, but even in those days, Forbes Bonham looked at this question of oil. But people told us then that they didn't find, but now we find. And we intend to make sure that the development of this country is accelerated. Morning on here. Yes, I missed that call. Anyway, I'm saying to you that these are some of the things we need to reflect on when it comes the birth anniversary of Forbes Bonham. These are the things we should look back on. we should look at the question of our young people, what he has done for young people. The introduction of issues like the Guyana National Service, the creation of the NIS, the National Insurance Scheme, that is currently taking care of persons who have worked in those years and before, who are now old. They can benefit from the social kind of system that has been established by him to take care of our old folk. These are all creditable. Morning, you're there. Hello? I'm barely hearing you, sir.
Yes, sir. Morning to you.
Morning, sir.
I want to say that my experience with him was death.
Uh-huh.
Had the pleasure of caring for that body when he died.
Okay.
And looking at him lying there
Mm.
gives me the wonder to understand. Was this the man who was leading our country? Was this the man who was talking and making so many great speeches,
Mm-hmm.
taking Guyana to the heights that it have gone to?
Mm-hmm.
I studied him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity that forgive me for watch him lying in the state of death.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't try to peer in his mind to want to know what he was in him with all these great things hidden.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Shabudin would have done something which enlightened us the goodness of the man.
Mm-hmm.
And that experience, as I watch him in them, I tell me now that I am what a good leader he was.
Okay.
And it was all good for Guyana, and we should try and have the legacy that he would put
Mm-hmm.
into the minds of our youth to help them to get to the way that their country. Because let's look at the concept of his in the border crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with national service, with militia,
Mm-hmm.
even our soldiers
Mm-hmm.
along that board, giving them the impetus to say to them that I am able to defend my country against any aggression.
Mm-hmm.
I think that speaks well for what he would have done. He should continue to keep his name alive.
Mm-hmm.
Talking from the experience of watching work for lying there in death, what he would have done for us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think excellent. I think you have chronicled and have expressed the views of not only yourself, but a lot of Guyanese who really have experienced this man, who have looked at him, listened to what he had to say to us, and those things. I think that was a wonderful presentation. I share closeness to those kind of comments as well. Thank you very much.
Good.
I was saying that when we look and see what Forbes Burnham has done for young people, then you would recognize the kind of belief that he had in young people. He gave them opportunities. I don't know if people remember, but we used to be kind of celebrating Youth Week. Now, that was a deliberate decision of his government to make sure that young people was given 1 week to organize activities to celebrate, say, themselves and what they have done. He tried to encourage young people to take leadership roles in our country. But now that our country is challenged, and now that we have gotten the UN to make a determination that the matter of our border controversy should be settled by the ICJ, I think that is a tribute to the work that Forbes Burnham has done. And I always kind of remember this famous statement he made at the national park. I don't remember the exact year, but when he was asked whether or not they were prepared to cede any part of Guyana to Venezuela, Forbes Burnham said, ask the audience, that is the people at the national park, he asked the question, have you ever seen a fight between a jackass and a marabunta? The whole crowd laughed, but they thought it was a joke. Forbes Burnham said, well, we are the marabuntas. if they think they can get Guyana, any part of Guyana, well then, I don't know if you know the experience of it, a donkey or a jackass going on their own house where they're Marabunta. You feel he can go there and rest comfortably. That's what used to happen then. And Fort Burnham said to the public, Guyanese are the Marabuntas, so they can try anything. So we're prepared, and I think every Guyanese should be prepared to defend this country, come what may. Yes, we continue to reflect on our activities. Come the month of August, we would be having a series of activities to commemorate his death, and we will also be having our symposium again to memorialize this man for what he has done for Guyana. And I am inviting you still, the lines are still open, those of you who would like to share your views and comments in relation to what Forbes Burnham has done. You have listened to the presentation of Dr. Shahabuddin, his views on Forbes Burnham and his contribution. You have listened to Mr. Raul Lucas on our Guyana-Venezuela border controversy and what has led to this claim, and we feel, all Guyanese know, that this matter was settled since 1899. So there is no question about going back on this again. The borders was all settled then. Venezuela agreed. Now sudden out of the blue they say they want because we find oil. Guyana was held back from its development programs for all these years, and now that we find oil, they want to make a claim again on Guyana. Guyanese, stand up. Stand up for what is right. Stand up for your rights. Stand up so that Guyana can really blossom and bear fruits for the other Guyanese to come. These are all issues that should be of concern to all Guyana. Morning, Mr. Awan. I just missed that call, and ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you too, as we speak, we have our cyclists coming down. As soon as I leave here, I'm going to see the end of that race, and this afternoon we are having the one from Georgetown to Belfield and back. You know, Forbes Burnham lived at Belfield also, and the race is going up to where he resided at Belfield. What is it? I should tell you also how you can become a part of the Forbes Burnham Foundation. We have forms. There are some numbers that you can call if you're interested to become a part of the foundation. You can call the chairman of the foundation. His number is 624-2057. 624-2057. You can call the vice chairperson. Her number is 610 8676, 610-8676, or you can call yours truly. My number is 682-5462. We continue along this noble path of remembering Forbes Burnham for what he has done for Guyana. And if you would like to join in this noble journey, then feel free to call any of those numbers, and we will make arrangements for you to have your form and become a member of the Forbes Burnham Foundation. Only yesterday we had our general members meeting where we bring people up to date as to what we have done for the year and what we intend to do for the ensuing year. And those are all things, and we gave an account of our we're not very strong financially, but we organize our little activities to make sure that we cover our expenses in relation to this program and other things that we do every year. And these are all issues that we do with the hope that other Guyanese can join us on this noble journey to remember this man for what he has done, to remember the things. We have looked on this program on a number of issues. We have looked at Forbes Burnham and foreign policy, what he did for Guyana as far as our foreign policy development is concerned. We have looked on this program as to what he has done. Morning, you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
Morning, sir.
Me again.
Yes.
I want to mention one thing that I think I should reflect on. When he was the president, I remember having a view of the role that was for the take of President Khalid as one of his great youth.
For the first batch of students.
Yes. I was standing on the city road just around the city while they were lined up to march.
Mm-hmm.
had a view of the students who were towards us.
Mm-hmm.
If you look among them, you could have seen the aura of brilliance standing there, those were children who were from the area, 10 or 11, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered how many of them have since passed out. I know a few of them have come out with great students. But then the demise of the college after the change of government broke
Mm-hmm.
in way we could have had a very good number of our people that we have now who are of age
Mm-hmm.
attending that school, doing well for our country.
Mm-hmm.
That is it, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, to really share your views is that a lot of students, for the first 2 or 3 years, a lot of students who have attended the President's College created by Father Bonham, they have done distinguished themselves, and they're all over the world. You wouldn't believe. It's very unfortunate the demise of the college subsequent to his death, what has happened, but they have distinguished themselves all over this country. There's still a few of them in this country that are doing reasonably well. I remember my good friend who write Mr. Johnson, I think is his name, Ruel Johnson.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, he's one of the students of President's College, and I know he is giving a good account of himself. He's very, very accomplished person as far as I know. But he, and others, there are others as well. This girl Trots, I remember her name, Trots also.
That they can bring that back.
Yeah, I've seen a few articles. I think they should have a coming together sometime for students past in the President's College. They should do that. I think it's important because I think that the President currently is looking very seriously to resuscitate perhaps those ideas that Father Bonham had in terms of the role of the college in relation to
That was what many people didn't understand.
yeah,
that.
churning out leaders, say for the not just Guyana but for the region.
Aye.
Mhm.
And then the curriculum who would have come out of there would have been true Guyanese ready to represent our country.
That's right.
From the intelligence right down to the lowest.
That's right, that's right. Those were the views at the then time, but things have just taken what I will call a very unfortunate path after he died. And we have the responsibility. I've lost my hair now because in those days I had hair. But I think we should do our best to make sure that his dreams can remain with us for the rest of our lives, and those who come after us, they should learn on these things, do their research, understand what is happening, what this man has done, what was his thinking in relation to promoting Guyana.
Yes.
Look at what he has done in terms of our infrastructure development, what he has done for us in terms of foreign policy, what he has done for us in terms of women development.
Exactly.
Those are very critical, but at the same time important pillars of development of this country that Father Bonham has addressed. What he has done for trade unionism in this country. He has revolutionized the rules and laws governing trade unionism. He has revolutionized the whole role of women in development. These are all critical. Then addressing youth, the creation of the Guyana National Service, the establishment of the NIS. Those are what you can call.
I know that hands were put yet destroyed, but I mean, it was built on good pillars. That's why it is still standing.
Yes, yes. I know all those things, and there are lots of Guyanese. People need to come out. And right now, since we are addressing also the question of our border controversy, Guyanese should really come out in their numbers and support, make sure that nothing happens to threaten our advancement. It's about time we blossom and bear fruit as Guyanese.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yes, there you have it. I think I can take 1 or 2 more calls if you come through right now, because our time is fast coming to a close, and I might have to really say goodbye until we meet again on the 4th Sunday in the month of March, when I will bring to you again another program called The State of the Nation. I am telling you again that we have schools participating in our softball cricket competition. This is an annual feature now that we organize every time in the month of February. We have over 40 schools participating from Region 3, Region 4, as well as Georgetown. And we plan to extend it next year, so that there will be more schools participating. And of course, those who end up winning, we will be having our presentation. Our prizes will be given out on the 5th of March. We'll be having our presentation for those persons who have won in relation to the activities that we've organized for our sports. We're also having our tennis. Our table tennis is being played off on the 5th as well. And the finals of our softball will also be on the 5th. So, ladies and gentlemen, each year, the month of February and August, these are the months when we commemorate, one, the birth anniversary of Forbes Burnham. In August, we reflect on his death. And I want to say to you, we are open to membership. Persons who have experienced this man, those of you who haven't even experienced him, and you need to know what he has done, because our programs and our activities is geared towards educating Guyanese about Forbes Burnham, telling you what Forbes Burnham has done for Guyana. In every sphere of activity you can think about, he has made a contribution, and much of what he has done, much of what he has started is still relevant today. Still relevant. It still need to be looked at seriously because of the vision he had for Guyana. Since we're not getting any call, I want to take this opportunity for thanking you for being with me on this program. I trust that what we have brought to you in relation to our Guyana-Venezuela border controversy has been able to provide you with information that you need to know and how to address this issue as you go about your daily lives. And secondly, I want you to reflect on the words of Dr. Shahabuddin at the passing of Lyndon Forbes Samson Burnham. Dr. Shahabuddin, one of the most outstanding jurists of this country, he had those words to say about Forbes Burnham. He was also an orator. If you listen to the choice of words in that presentation, you would recognize that Guyana has produced some real outstanding personalities, and he happens to be one of them. Like I said, the foundation wishes to express our condolences to his family. And once again, I want to thank you for having me in your living room, bedroom, and your kitchen. Until I see you again the 4th Sunday in the month of March, when I bring you another program, The State of the Nation. My name is Clayton Hines. Thank you.